What's this? Could it be? It's the 420s with another video. Yo, Dank, start the show.
Hey guys, I'm Dank.
I'm useful and...
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now. You like a voice?
Today, we'll be talking about the top 5 saber combat techniques that you can use to make a difference in your saber battles. And these aren't in any specific order, but they seem to really build off each other. And we've broken them down into 5 key parts and also a bunch of sub points as well. So Dank's gonna kind of tell us what these points are right now.
So it's going to be movement, striking and blocking, knowing your character, terrain and location, and lastly the pattern break. And the pattern break is a cool one because it's kind of a culmination of all the different elements we're going to be talking about and how you can sort of change them. But first, I want to thank everyone for the support we got in our last video. As you can see by this scrolling document, we put a lot of work into this one. So thanks for everyone that left a comment and liked. So let us know what you think about this video. Sit back, relax, roll that bowl, get that bong, and remember, don't play
Boba Fett. Number 1, movement. Movement is pretty much the most important part about saber combat. If you're not thinking about where you're going to move, where you're going to go, you're going to get outplayed, and you're not even going to know why you got outplayed. And the first one we have under movement is jumping. Jumping is pretty important, and one of the most basic things about jumping is the fact that you can saber boost. If you attack in midair, you go further. You go higher up, and you actually travel further, and you can get to places where you couldn't get to if you didn't do it. Like if you just did a normal jump like that, you can't get to this place. So for instance, this is one that I do all the time. And this one helps me out, like ganking and running away. It's super useful. And now we're going to get into last resort jumping, which is where you're in a really fucked situation. Like it's all you can do. So for instance, right here, I'm low. I have no stamina. All I can do is jump. And I find a little, side place to jump. And then I catch one of them in midair. And I'm going to have another clip of this right here. And basically the lesson here is never jump if you don't have to, because you're defenseless when you jump. And it's only it's a great like last resort tactic, but you can get caught out really easily. Like we save our abilities for when people jump. So if you're playing against someone who can't punish you, then it's pretty much fine. And different characters can get away with it, like Grievous. Dank plays Grievous a bunch, so he knows all about how his jump works and like how you can abuse it.
For Grievous specifically, it's really good for like repositioning where you are in the team fight because his jump is high, but it's also fast. And it's kind of hard to keep track of a Grievous that is jumping all around you. For example, same thing with Bossk, but he's not a saber villain, so we're not really going to be talking about him.
Yep. And jumping is, it can be effective against like blaster heroes, except for Finn. But you can kind of, use it to get to them. And it's just a good tactic to kind of have in your back pocket and stuff.
Just don't make it a habit to jump whenever you're under pressure. Only when there's nothing else to do, like the clips.
Exactly. Our next point is dashing. And our opinion on dashing is like, it's kind of like why a 1v1 mode would never work. It's because people would be trying to like dash behind each other, and it would just be a complete dodge fest and block fest the whole time. But the thing about it is that you can do like a jumping attack, and you can get in a good position after landing and to get back strikes in. You can also do the same thing with dashing, like you'll see here in this clip. I dash a shit ton around this Vader, and I can read his movements so well that I actually start taunting him mid-battle. And this guy was a huge pain in the ass, and I kind of wanted to kick his ass in this game. But this is also going to like touch on our next point, is dashing through enemies is like super helpful for getting those back strikes in. And it's just a really good general like movement practice that you can do. So like here, Rey dashes through me like real quick. She escapes me for a second, right? So that's like a good like example of it happening to me. And then another thing you can do is dodge abilities, which just kind of sometimes happens randomly, but you can actually like get good enough to dodge abilities. Like there, I just dodged Vader's choke, and you'll like the more you play, the more you'll be able to like predict this kind of stuff and actually like do it out of habit. Here's another.
A lot of people actually use force abilities like at a predictable time.
Yeah, like you'd be surprised. You start to see the same players. Oh, and here's a dodge. Boom, hits Luke instead of me. I thought that one was hilarious. But yeah, you're right. You start to be able to like read characters and read what they're gonna do, and you'll be able to sort of like, you know, even gap close to a person by dodging their abilities and getting closer to them, which is like super nice, like for someone like Anakin, right? Where if you get caught by an Anakin pull, you could be fucked. So dashing through abilities is awesome.
So this picture that we're gonna have pop up is called claw grip, and people do this so that you can like aim and use the analog stick and jump and switch angles for blasters. It's a bit extra, just to be honest. But the next one that we're going to cover is using body language. So a lot of the time you can change the dynamic of a fight just by like the way, the aura you're giving off when you're fighting. So like, for example, by acting confident, moving forward, side to side, you're saying, I'm not retreating, I'll fight you. But on the other hand, acting unconfident, like backing up, turning around, jumping, will give this like I'm gonna run away from you kind of vibe, which could set you up to like catch them with a force ability, turn around, go in on them. And then the last one, if you dash twice backwards, it'll usually line people up for like a saber throw or any other kind of force.
So your character's demeanor is important, and our next point is barriers and shit, which is basically like placing, you know, an object between you and another player, and it just disables combat in immediately is what I'm trying to say. Like you see here, I'm just jumping up on this thing and they can't do anything about it. Like you can recover your stamina, you can drain you can drain their abilities, you can get your abilities back. So using barriers is actually like super helpful, and you sometimes you just do it without even knowing it. Like if you want to be protected from someone's ability, you just hide behind a wall. That's a barrier. But like you can use it in your saber combat to like really fuck up some people. So it's actually a pretty viable strategy, especially to avoid cheesing on different maps. And our next big point, number 2 point, is blocking and striking. And blocking and striking really, it builds on this whole movement thing that we just talked about. And we touched on doing this like jumping attack where you do a jump attack, you get behind the enemy, and then all of a sudden you're in a really good position to start getting back strikes in and predicting dashes and shit. So that is kind of like, the basis of it is having good movement. All of a sudden a lot like opens up the possibilities for your blocking and striking to really expand. And our sub point here is guard breaking, and we'll have Dank talk to you a little bit about what you can do with guard breaks.
So guard breaking is really useful. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's just a specific type of attack that can go through someone's block and damage. So it's really good for stopping regeneration, finishing people off, slowly wearing people down. And like I said, some people have moves that are specifically made for breaking guards, and some that are kind of glitchy or not intended to break guards. It relies on good movement and reading the enemy player.
And like he was talking about, like those glitchy things, we're looking at a clip right here because Rey's got like a real fucked up one, right? She's got like a glitchy kind of knockback dash that she can do, I think.
Yeah, it's coming up in a second, but basically what you want to do is you dash in like that, and when they block you, you dodge through them. And it'll like clip them somehow, and it'll still knock them over, which is pretty. If you can get that consistently, then you're pretty much good at Rey. yeah, definitely, for sure. And then we got a bunch of other characters on the list here too that just have natural guard breaks that we'll list off. Kylo's Frenzy, his last hit is awesome now because it guard breaks. So it's a great finishing move. Yoda, he's really good for whittling opponents down with his guard break dash. Anakin's is just it's just a classic button. He lunges in and he guard breaks. Rey's got the force one like we just showed you.
Sometimes you can use like Obi-Wan and Luke. You can use their like rush or dash to counter different abilities like Grievous's unrelenting advance, I think is what it's called. His middle ability, right? And then we've got some other ones on here like BB-8's roll and like Han's shoulder charge, but they're not really Saber heroes, so we won't really talk about them. But a lot of other characters have unblockable attacks that are really strong, like Chewie and Iden. But definitely use guard breaks to finish off your enemies and reduce their health over time. And we're gonna get into parries now. And again, I'm gonna let Dank take over this because we have an awesome clip of him parrying the shit out of these people.
So in this clip, Captain died early because of actually the terrain.
Yeah.
Breaking his block.
Yeah.
And I had to 2v1 these guys the entire time. For the most part, it looks bad for me in this clip. I get in a parry here and there, but you'll see at the end what happens. But as far as parrying goes, it's not a mechanic that was actually designed into the game in mind, but with the way that Saber mechanics works out, it allows you to strike an enemy the moment you block their strike. So it returns the damage over to them while you're still blocking.
Yeah.
A little thing though is that it takes up twice the amount of stamina that it would normally because you're hitting and blocking at the same time. So you have to make sure you're careful about your stamina. But some notes on parrying is like, if they have a predictable swing timing, you can get this like rhythm going just to melt them all the way down. And some characters like Dooku and Luke have really high swing speeds, so you have to be careful parrying them. Maybe
Dooku especially.
Other.
Dooku's fucking dangerous as shit when you try to parry him.
So it's about to come up here.
Yeah. We're getting close to where it's happening, and you're Obi-Wan right here. So you're like the perfect character to parry with because of this stamina pool, right? So you can't even tell it's happening if you're the enemy player. Look at that shit.
It didn't look like I was doing anything.
Yeah.
You just kind of see their health go down. Really quickly.
Yeah. I think we have an ultra slow-mo, right?
Yeah, we do. Watch. So I get 3 strikes, which kills Maul. 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, this is why you also don't spam. Because people like us will fuck you over. But yeah, so parrying is this offensive blocking technique, basically. It's like a counter technique. It lets you reverse damage on the attacker. It's awesome.
It's a really strong mechanic, but don't only parry, because you will get punished for doing that as well. You're just a scumbag if you do that. Exactly. And it's great for taking out skookers, like we talked about in our last video. We'll bring that up later. But it's great because those people definitely like, what the fuck was that? Like when they died. And so, so our next point is something that I came up with, but you see it all the time. It's called two striking. And two striking is cool because, like, typically when you land a force ability, like, check this out right here. Oh, I slowed it down. Awesome. So I land Kylo with this thing. And usually when you, like, ragdoll someone, you can get 2 hits on them before anything happens. Boom, there's the 2. His guard's up. And then you can dash around and start, like, start trying to get them in a chain or in like a loop of some sort. So I call it two striking because typically you can only get like 2 strikes after you do something, if you catch them in a bad position or with some force or something. So this is like a really good little tactic that you can use. Rey is cool. The reason why she's like super strong is because they can't turn around. So you can do more than 2 strikes. You can do like a bunch of strikes. So that's where I kind of came up with 2 striking. It's a really helpful strategy. It's basically like picking your shots. Number 3 is knowing your character, and we'll have a Dank here get into this a little bit. So this one is more about like infusing your abilities with saber combat. So we're gonna start looking at specific character combos, starting with Vader here, I think.
Oh, this is the Hello Boys combo.
So we're just gonna let this play.
Come on, rush and do it. I know you want to.
Take him.
Ability baited, complete.
I find your lack of faith.
Choke him. Hello, boys. Oh, no.
So I missed it right there, but as you can see, the full combo is to go for a saber boost, and then a 180, and then a lightsaber throw to hit them both ways. It's like, I'd say it's a little higher than medium difficulty to achieve. This one right here is with Luke, where you just rush, repulse, and then 2 strike, like Captain was saying. I got it.
Yep. You got Rey's guard break, where we showed the guard break, and then you can get 2 strikes off of that. For Maul, you can do like a choke throw, saber throw, a flying dash, and then you can do 2 strikes when you get behind him. Anakin, you just catch him in the ability loop, and then you land 2 strikes on the back. Like, you can do this basically with anyone you land force or abilities on, or again, if they're in a bad position.
Sometimes it could depend on your position. Like, if there's a wall next to you, you might be able to get 3 strikes on them, for example.
And, here's one with Grievous, where you can do like a mini jump and a regular jump attack. Whoa.
There's the jump attack animation, and then it cancels, and then 2 swings.
Boom.
So that essentially extends Grievous's regular saber combo by 1 hit because of the way Grievous's jump works. When you swing while you're jumping initially, if you cancel the jump, you'll fall back down real quick. So it'll only get out like the first half of the animation, but it'll still do damage with your sabers. So it's just a little combo for Grievous.
Exactly.
You are vulnerable because you're jumping, you're not blocking and everything, but like if you can pull it off, it's worth it.
Number 4, terrain and location. Now, map awareness is huge. You can bait players to certain parts of the map by like using good movement and body language, like what we were talking about before. There are places on the map that might be better for your fighting style and might weaken the enemy's fighting style, and you'll be able to tell like where you're weak, and you might be getting baited somewhere. Sometimes terrain will fuck up your block, and we have a clip of this that we actually showed earlier that Dank mentioned. So sometimes like ramps and rocks and ledges and stuff, they'll like think you're sliding in the air. Like, check this out, I can't block right here, and see how I'm like floating right there in midair. It thinks like I'm like flying or something, so I can't block, and so I just get fucked by soybean 101. Like, what a fucking cuck.
They pushed you into that corner. I don't think they knew why, but
so basically watch out for terrain, because terrain can fuck you over, especially on like Jabba's palace or something like that, and Geonosis. But yeah, you want to stick to locations you know how to control. There's no shame on not fighting on like a skinny bridge with a bottomless pit underneath, like on Naboo, with a Maul jumping trying to get you to come over there and fight on it. He's a straight up bitch, and he's just trying to cheese you. It's not even a fight. He's not trying to fight you. He's just like trying to cheese you. So just don't engage, and either he'll come to you or he'll just stay a bitch. It doesn't really matter. And you can't change the terrain, but you can change where you're located on it. And an example is on Camino, like we use a body language strategy called noob block to lure the enemies inside, because they might like have stuff that could throw you off the edge. So we like use newbie body language to bring them inside with us and chase us in there. And then it's just all of a part of our plan. So that's, an interesting way you can use like terrain and location on another point we talked about.
And that's going to bring us to number 5, pattern break. So with all the other 4 core elements of saber combat out of the way, it leaves us with pattern breaking. And this is basically just changing up your playstyle when things aren't favoring you or just not connecting.
Check out this clip right here. Check this out.
He's so scared. He's got weakness on me.
You don't mean me any harm.
Damn. Okay,
He's
so
a
now,
half though, you're not.
Yeah, so now I'm being too proactive. So in order to like change the
pattern,
Yeah.
you're backing up to make him be aggressive.
Yeah. There we go.
Yep, it worked.
Pattern break.
Boom.
So once people acclimate to your playstyle and habits, and yes, we all have habits, things can start to turn for the worse for you. To combat this, just subtly change any aspect of the other core elements of saber combat. So for example, maybe the terrain or location is getting in your way, so you need to find a new place to move. Or perhaps you're not completely familiar with your character, so changing it up to a character you know best might be advised. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't practice with characters that you're not good with, but if you're trying to win, you might reconsider it, or play co-op to get all the necessary star cards. Or maybe you're being too predictable when you're blocking and striking. Are you using the same trick to get their back that you always do? Because it's going to be less effective every time you try the same trick.
Yep.
So in order to combat that, you might want to play more defensively in order to cool down your force or get chip damage in with parries. Just change the flow of it. Or another example, you could be more slippery with your movement. You can use jumping to gap close, but are you jumping all the time? Because then you're just flagging your opponent to use their force on you. Save it for when you jump, because you always do. Do you always dodge in the same direction? Do you always use the same attack pattern? All these things are like micro adjustments that you can make to your playstyle to change the flow and really throw off your opponent.
Just break the pattern.
Changing up any of these things can be enough to confuse somebody and make them tilt or lose focus. So,
and that's about all we have. It took us a while to write all the things like we kind of just naturally do down, but we hope you enjoyed it all. So leave us, a like, a comment, let us know what you thought, and we will see you in the next one. Later, motherfuckers. Bye.